Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday. It is Song and Beyond. I'm Thomas Hampson. This is IDAGIO Live, the place where classical music happens. And we are really happening tonight. It's a very exciting night because, in fact, the Hampson Foundation, with me and all of us around, have partnered with IDAGIO.com on a new series called Arts at Future, which is all about my young colleagues having a real showcase, a real bar to raise their work to, but all about finding young people and but just the industry fortuitous environment for young singers. It's very hard to simply have occasions to practice your art. And singers don't become singers unless they sing, and musicians don't become musicians unless they make music. So what I didn't realize is when I put the net out, as it were, to young artist programs and conservatories and competitions, trying to create a series that's really about young professionals. I didn't know how many people had already started that. I didn't have a clue about that. And it's really exciting that a lot of people have taken the initiative on their own to, in fact, create platforms for young professionals to, in fact, do what they do for you, which is kind of exciting. And that's why we're here tonight, because I did not have Courtney Carey on my radar at all. And he got put on my radar, and I've known who he is, but I just didn't realize that he'd started this fantastic series called Courtney Stars of Tomorrow. So we do have, I don't know what order you see us in, but we have Courtney Carey down here, the founder of Stars of Tomorrow. And we're going to speak with these two wonderful people, Justin Austin, who I do know, but I'll tell you about that later, and Brittany Renee, who I only know of and have heard you online. So I'm anxious to meet you in person. But these are my guests this evening for Song and Beyond, and welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good evening.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Great. Now, Courtney, the first, and in fact, we could probably go straight to the website, but we're talking about the first showing was last night, correct?
Yes, at 7 p.m. on idagio.com.
7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
Indeed, yes.
I love it, which makes it a little bit later for me. I should have tuned in. I actually had a concert myself. I'm not bragging, but for the last 6 months, it's maybe the 5th concert I've had. So I'm not bragging. I'm actually just like a kid in a candy shop. Oh my, I got to sing again.
I got to sing.
Yeah, you guys know what that feels like?
Yes.
Yes. Come on. So look, before we get into this and share everybody's stories and where all the connections come for, and have a look at the preview of this, which I think is really quite wonderful. And by the way, just Justin, parenthetic, Justin was a program that I do in Heidelberg, the Elite Academy. It was wonderful. Somebody sent me this preview. And I said, oh, you're going to love this. And I turned it on, and you start singing, and I said, but I know that voice. I know him. So it was it put chips on Courtney's table, but we won't tell him that.
Hey,
I could go to the website and you all could read Courtney's bio, but I kind of warned him. Courtney, where are you from? What did you do? What did music come in? What's this? I mean, you're such a multi-talent, amazing human being. Where did all this start? And give us your 5-minute Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've gotten a little funny email about that. I want to be very clear about this, ladies and gentlemen. I have been from the get-go, as much as I love really deep-seated analytical encyclopedias, I think Wikipedia, I believe in it and have always believed in it and sponsor it every year. And I know they're doing fundraisers. I don't get a nickel from it. I'm not even trying to help them, but I think Wikipedia is fabulous. So if I say, give me Wikipedia, I mean that totally positive.
It's so funny you mentioned that, because just last night I was on Wikipedia looking up something, and I saw the donate button at the top. And I gave $10. So
anything helps. Yeah, anything helps. If everybody who accesses gave $5 or $10, they wouldn't have to do fundraisers. We'd be done. Be fine. Anyway, we're getting distracted. Who are you? Where'd you come from?
I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
I grew up just maybe 3 minutes or so from downtown Memphis. As a matter of fact, my assigned junior high school was Hume's Junior High School, which is where Elvis Presley went to school.
I love.
Yeah. And anyway, went to Morehouse College for undergraduate studies, and then the Eastman School of Music for a master's in choral conducting, and then to the Mannes College of Music for a professional studies diploma in voice. I'd been sort of between the two areas, voice and conducting, for most of my undergrad time. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So I'd actually applied to Indiana University for voice and Eastman for conducting. And the decision wasn't made easy because I got into both of them and I got fellowships for both. So as sort of threw a coin in the air and decided to go to Eastman. And that brought me obviously to New York State. And then after Eastman, I knew I wanted more from sort of my education, and I decided to enroll in Mannes and got a scholarship to go there as well. And I studied with Dr. Robert White Jr., who was a phenomenal teacher, and he really pretty much taught me everything I know about singing well. And then, after school, I started working at the Metropolitan Opera Guild. I'd actually gotten an internship for the Met Guild. In my first year of professional studies. And I joined the education department after I graduated. And I taught for, this is gonna sound really dumb to say this, but it's true, because I'm saying dumb because I'm only 40, but I taught for 15 years in the public school system through the Met Guild.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So everything's been this. First of all, was your family musical? Have you got sisters and brothers? Did you play an instrument? Were you a piano guy or guitar or something?
Actually,
some violin.
My family is not a musical family, sort of professionally, but my great aunt and my grandmother had a quartet when they were in Mississippi, and they moved from Mississippi to Memphis, actually, in part because the quartet was so successful. They had a manager.
What kind of quartet? Singing quartet?
A singing quartet, yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
My aunt was the bass, and my grandmother was a weak soprano.
I'm the same bass. This is a soprano. It's fantastic.
And my aunt is 93 years old and can still sing very, very well.
Wow, and, fantastic.
Yeah. So anyway, I studied bassoon in junior high school. This was the days when, you could take an instrument home with you in school. You had public school education that actually provided instruments to students. And I studied the bassoon for those 3 years. And when I got to high school, I could no longer play it because the high school didn't have an orchestra. They only had a marching band. So I couldn't, be marching with my bassoon. So I joined the choir.
You couldn't you, with a strap? Couldn't you?
Yeah.
It's just the marching band doesn't want woodwinds, do they? They want brass.
They want brass, yeah.
I mean, America for most high school education, it's all about band. It's all about brass. I grew up in the same thing. I wasn't around anybody who played a string instrument. There was a couple of rich guys that had a couple of cellos, and we thought that was pretty cool. But there was absolutely no instruction, no possible. I had Tim McDraw from I can't remember how embarrassing. I have to look it up. From the great saxophonist from University of Michigan, and I told her there was a saxophone at school you could learn on, but there was only one mouthpiece, and I said, nah.
Pass on that.
Nah, yeah, I'm good. I got my own cornet. I'm good. I'm fine. It's too bad. David Sanborn, eat your heart out. Anyway, but it sounds to me like you've always been. I mean, if you got your choral degree first, you loved to sing. You knew you had a good voice. But it was really something more about everything of the music and the choral sound and even education. But as you kept doing it and getting older and more experienced in that field, you realized you had a voice that you probably should wake up and make sure it's in the right place. Or were you thinking, if I'm going to help other people sing well, I better make sure I'm singing well? What was that?
Actually, I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be Thomas Hampson. True story.
Well, how tall are you?
I'm only 6 feet.
You're not nearly old enough.
I only have one hair left right here, so.
I got to say, God bless my mom. I got dad's part back here, but I keep it covered. But my mom just turned 90, and she's got a full head of beautiful white hair. Wow. It's unbelievable. My sisters really have trouble with me sometimes, but never mind. That's a whole nother show. It's not my show. We'll talk about you. So you did at one point you said, okay, this is all well and good. I want to be a singer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to.
That makes sense. And you did. And you are. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to be silly about it, but your activities are so split up. But did you go through the Met audition thing? Is that happened as well? And did you get into the opera, and what would sang role? Are you still singing opera? Are you hireable for opera roles?
Yes. With Justin, I just did the workshop performances of Intimate Apparel. Ricky.
Oh, right.
And actually, the gig came to me upon a recommendation of Melissa Wegner, who is, I think, now in charge of the National Council auditions.
I think she is. I don't know. I've lost track of that.
She sang together at, I want to say Brevard or in Italy. I can't remember now, but we've known each other for quite a while. But I think I sort of decided when I turned 37 after the last time I auditioned for the auditions, which was it was an amazing audition. That's a story for another day, but it really was sweet. But I didn't advance, and it's totally okay, because I sort of came to realize that I'd been knocking on the wrong door, not because I wasn't able to sing or that I couldn't sing extremely well, but I just realized that there were other things that I was supposed to be doing. And I'd been sort of trying to do so many other things that I wasn't really following my calling. And when I turned 37, I sort of got wise. And I decided that, I would pick Courtney Stars of Tomorrow up again, because I'd put it down for 2 years at that point.
Okay. And run us through that genealogy. So yeah. That's very interesting to me. So you started Courtney Stars of Tomorrow what year?
2014.
Right.
At the end of the year.
And bingo bango, you did it. It was terrific. People got into it. And then you're saying yourself, you kind of pulled back and somebody else was running it, or it just kind of went on autopilot, or what?
It went on autopilot. I did 2 smaller performances in the meantime, and there were people who were giving money. Gotten some really good donations, but I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, Courtney Stars Tomorrow, super. I want to sing. So I really pushed that to the side. And it was, like I said, when I turned 37, after that last Met Council audition, I just said, no, this is probably not the way for me to go. You can still sing and enjoy it and all the rest of it, but your mission is a little bit bigger than what you're trying to do.
I'm going to come back to that, but just taking that thread and going on, that's where you start showing up in these various positions you have, conducting, choral conducting, and arranging. Are you friends with Roderick Williams in England? He's a young he's also a baritone, I think your generation, who is one of these all-rounders, singing like crazy and does choral arrangements of pieces that strike him. And I mean,
oh wow,
I don't know where you guys came from, but I feel like a complete Neanderthal. I do not do any arranging of anything, barely my own room. I'm giving you a good look at my book wall, which is alphabetical. But I admire you guys so much, and you've spent so much time with they're essentially church choirs, aren't they?
Yeah. And the old folks choirs at that, as they say, and they don't mind me calling the old folks, so I have permission to say that.
This is on you. I didn't say this. I'm always saying something wrong, So I'm really glad, Hey, he just called you old, everybody. I'd have it called. When's your next rehearsal?
We have a Zoom meeting on the 13th.
You're going to get a whole box. You're going to get boxes of Depends for Christmas. I love it.
Have so who would send these stuff?
Where do I want to go with this? So when you great, and I love this, and that is so. what you're saying about yourself and this honesty with yourself and this, I just realized I needed to ... This is something that I, as a pedagogue, and Justin can attain to that or whatever, attest to that. That's a huge thing to support our young people in their singing path, that their path is first and foremost about them as human beings. And of course, I spend a lot of time with a lot of young singers who are, perhaps testing the waters and challenging themselves. And now we've hit, and that's tough enough. And then you come up against something like COVID. I spent a great deal of time and do spend a great deal of time in my seminar in Heidelberg and Berlin, having at least biweekly meetings with my young colleagues. So I'm not singing. How can I measure myself? How do I know if I'm getting any better? Does this sound familiar, guys?
Oh yeah.
But also, I want to say, and I don't have to say it to you guys because you got a different path, or whatever. Say it to whoever. I think this is also an important political point. Music in the schools is not about becoming a professional musician. It's about becoming a more rounded, thinking, empathetic person.
Right.
And the creative spirit is good for everybody. Whether you have the chops to go on in whatever avocation or vocation direction you can go is a different question than music in the schools. And by the way, going to music school doesn't mean you have to become a professional musician. And in COVID time, I have said to my young colleagues, and now this becomes the rhetorical question to you guys before we get into your own stories, but I have said to my young colleagues, if at this time, and you're starving to death, and maybe you've got family obligations, maybe you've got a house, whatever your obligations you've got, if you have any other talent, like bookkeeping, or organizational skills. I mean, if you've got something else you can do, there's no shame in doing that while you're still a musician. And maybe, my big line was, whatever you thought, your generation thought your life was going to be, that changed February, March 2020. It changed all of our lives, but it changed trajectories dramatically. And the business you want to get into or are in now is an improvisation, innovation at best, meltdown at worst, and Lord knows how long this is going to go on. So adaptability and pivot are in my opinion, some pretty big words, and I only smirk because they're overwhelming and not because I take them lightly. I have such, but out of that came this Arts at Future idea. You guys that are determined, you've got it, you can do it, you're going to sing. Justin, we can start with your story because I know it a little bit better, but staying in the saddle, staying true, staying clear, staying focused, there's got to be something that says, okay, I can give you a hand here, or I can give you a hand there. And so, Justin, who are you? Where'd you come from? Tell me something. Tell us something.
So I'm Justin Austin, Baritone. I'm originally from Stuttgart, Germany, but I have spent the last 17 years in New York City.
Okay.
I started studying there at the Boys Choir of Harlem, and then moved on to the Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School of Performing and Arts in Lincoln Center, the Fame School as it's known. And then from there, I went on to the Manhattan School of Music for my undergraduate degree.
Shout out for Manhattan School of Music. Yes.
Big M in the house.
I've got a board meeting tomorrow.
And then went on from there. I stayed there for my for grad school, which is actually where Tom and I met. We were scheduled to do your distance learning masterclass together. I think you were in Heidelberg and we had students in Michigan, and then you were working with one.
No, that was Michigan and Manhattan.
Oh, okay. Michigan.
I was in Michigan. University of Michigan. Those my two schools are University of Michigan and MSN.
Got you. You were in
University of
Michigan.
Michigan's become a big part of the Hampson Foundation agenda. But I was teaching in Michigan, people in Manhattan, and vice versa. We had a new machine called Lola, which it sounds kind of like I don't know what it sounds like, a movie, but it's actually only stands for low latency. It's an encoder that got rid of the junk in the signal that makes it possible to actually teach music in absolute real time. And this is what we were showing and proving, which was really, really exciting. I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Actually, all throughout my undergrad experience, everyone was obsessed with being on the main stage, and being a part of the opera theater department. And that was like the main goal for their scholastic career. My main goal was to be in the Thomas Hampson masterclass.
Oh, get out of here.
I've been the biggest Thomas Hampson fan my entire life. So I have a very
ladies and gentlemen, this is not a prerequisite to be on my show. I promise you. This is highly embarrassing, and moving at the same time. So could you go to the next part of your talk?
No, I'm actually going to go back and explain.
Well, you made it. You came to Heidelberg and we had a great time, total bonding time. Wonderful.
Honestly, because my upbringing, I have two opera singing, professional, international opera singing parents.
I met your dad.
Yeah, and literally, opera was the first thing I was ever exposed to before sports, before anything else. So I've just been obsessed with it my entire life, and it's the family business, and it's just something that I've just constantly been on this track towards. And going to Manhattan School of Music was a wonderful opportunity. And my dad told me that you really need to find a way to sing for Tom Hampson. I just really think you guys would click. He told me that for years. And I always, because he knows what he's talking about, but he's also my dad. So I'm always like, shut up, Dad. Whatever, he's Tom Hampson. He's not going to care about me and whatever, So then, I, for my last 2 years of undergrad, and my first year of grad school, I auditioned to be in your class. And unfortunately, the first round of those auditions, you aren't there. Mr. Hampson isn't there. So there are other people, and they did not choose me, which is fine. So I never got an opportunity to work, and I sort of just kind of had to give up on my dream of meeting you via this class. And I was like, maybe I'll meet him in the world or something. Maybe I'll write him and he'll respond. And then all of a sudden, the chair of the voice department calls me into his office and says, hey, we have this special master class that Tom Hampson does, is distance learning, and he's going to use one student from here, and we would really like you to be the representative of Manhattan School of Music. And I was like, oh my gosh, this whole time I didn't think you guys liked me. So it's like, okay, great. Long story short, it's like my moment is finally here.
Yes.
And I threw out my back in a sports injury, and I wasn't able to participate in the master class, and I missed my chance. And Tom Hampson and I did not meet. We did not.
Yeah, because I had a wonderful. There was a wonderful mezzo that sang some songs.
Lisa Barone. Yeah.
Exactly. The whole time you're telling the story, I'm thinking, I can't believe it. How did you get to Heidelberg?
So what happened was, because
no, but look, we got a short version. We got a lot of ground to cover.
I'm so sorry. I'm so long.
It's great.
It's horrible. But
no, anyway, you're a baritone.
I had amazing correspondence with the Hampson Foundation and your colleagues there, and they felt so bad about the fact that at the last minute I wasn't able to participate and such. And we were like, we really like you. We think Tom would really like you. Is there any way that you can ask, participate and ask a question to Tom, whatever? So in that class, I asked a question. You were so impressed with my question that you said, "Who is this young man?" And they said to you, he was supposed to be in the master class, but blah, blah, blah. And he was like, okay, well, let's work with him another time. So a few months later, I was healed up. You were in New York. You came to Columbia University and gave a lecture on American song at the Teachers College.
Right.
And you asked for me to, be involved, and I performed, and I performed some Ricky.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's why I said you got to come to Heidelberg.
Exactly. And then after that meeting, you were like,
Okay.
oh, you're coming with me to Germany. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but okay.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Enough about him and about me. Brittany, what do you think of my work? No, sorry.
The long soprano.
That's the, ladies and gentlemen, that's an old joke about narcissism in our business. Enough about me. What do you think of my work? It's a joke. Anyway,
about it?
Brittany, you gorgeous thing, and you beautiful singer. Tell me something about you. I don't know you at all, other than what is on the website and all that. I mean, I'm so the program people. You have to listen to this. You have a week to listen to these shows. They're absolutely wonderful. Where do you come from? What's your life? What's your story?
So I actually grew up in Burnsville, Minnesota. I'm a Midwest, that like corn-fed potatoes, all that good stuff. So grew up in the Midwest.
It is good stuff.
I know, right? And I want to say I actually grew up, I know everyone in the conversation was like, I grew up on brass instruments and band. I actually grew up in the choral life. So it's Minnesota. So you have all the choral
big time.
There. So I just kind of grew up in that. So it was kind of like all state choirs and this and that. I knew I liked to sing. I didn't really know I wanted it as a career until later. My parents were like, well, do what you love to do. Like, okay, and just make sure you can support yourself, right? So literally from there, I auditioned for, all the schools. I went to Peabody Conservatory, and there actually is where I kind of got introduced more into opera. I grew up on gospel and jazz. My dad is a huge jazz listener. So gospel, jazz, musical theater. So as soon as I went to college, it was like, here's early music, here's opera. I'd seen opera when I was young, but I was like, what is this? What is this? What is this old school art form that I just can't seem to get enough of? And so I spent about 6 years. I did my undergrad and my GPD at Peabody. And then afterwards, I was like, I'm not ready for the business. Let's just sit for a second and just
who did you study with? Who did you study with at Peabody?
I studied with Phyllis Brynjolfsson and Stephen Rainbow.
Oh my!
Mm-hmm,
okay,
right.
that's. Did you cross paths with Denise Graves?
Yeah, a little bit, not so much. I felt like Denise and I reconnected most recently when we were at the Met doing Porgy and Bess, and I was like, we just missed each other.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You were in the Porgy and Bess at the Met?
Yes. So was Justin as well.
With Justin, you were in that? I didn't realize that.
I was covering it. I wasn't in it, but it was my first season there covering. Yeah.
There's no way I could get over there. Angel Blue is a really dear friend and colleague. We're going to do some galas together, and I just adore her. And I adore Denise as well. And we've, been around the block with various things over the years. But this is exciting. Anyway, Peabody's a great school. And Bryn Jewelson, oh man, my goodness, she's what a pedagogue.
Iconic, absolutely iconic.
Wow. Yeah,
yeah, I'm trying to think of any after that. I moved out actually to Colorado. That was a big thing. So after all schooling, I basically moved out to Colorado actually to study with another teacher, Martia Rowland, because I wasn't ready. I was still really young, and I went out there for about 3 years. I keep moving around, of course. I went from
Is this out in Boulder?
Yes,
out in Boulder?
Is out in Colorado Springs. And so I actually moved to Denver and just worked, I worked in finance. I worked actually as like an executive assistant, literally learning a whole other trade while supporting.
Good for you. While
supporting myself. So when singing started to pick up a little more, I was invited to go to the Florida Grand Opera for their residency. And I was there for about close to 3 years and did more guest artist work with them. And then did the whole big move to New York City. And I've been here for about 7 years.
Okay.
Just singing and traveling. And still in the beginning, I was still working in finance just to support myself, of course, because it's New York City. And soon after that, I kind of let that go because singing just kept picking up more and more. So And here I am.
Well, I mean,
COVID-free.
you're COVID free, but I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, has the financial world come up again on your horizon that you maybe need to go back and just to anchor yourself, or you've been able to stay above water?
I've been able to stay above water. I mean,
Well,
every single day, I am absolutely grateful and blessed that I have been able to somehow manage and figure out everything. But I think with this new world of, online performances and virtual life, I mean, just as you said, Thomas and Justin, it's those things where things might stop or get canceled, but then it's kind of your whole trajectory, your whole kind of forward process necessarily doesn't stop. It's just in a whole new way. So all of a sudden it was like, let me get a microphone, let me get a ring light, let me still be present. Right, exactly. So that, I'm still able to, broaden and share my craft. I guess that's the thing. And especially the fact is not being able to necessarily sing opera, but just presenting it in a different way. So this kind of, which I like, has brought me back to, my roots of musical theater and jazz and, gospel.
so you want to do all of it at the same time?
All of it. I never said I
Go,
never
girl.
just wanted to do opera. I love all music.
Well, the only thing that matters is you sing a bunch of songs. That's all I care about. They just sing songs and sing bows. But look, Courtney, when you decided to, I mean, even in 2014, and we're already in 2020. I thought to it, but that was yesterday. No, it was actually 6 years ago. Never mind. You started this. Were you just aware of this obvious network of young talent that was not getting a shot at working? Was that where this came from?
That is exactly right. I stood in front of, pre-COVID, 25, 30 singers every other weekend, like Brittany and Justin and Issachar Savage. And the list goes on and on. And I was confused why they weren't getting opportunities. Because at that time, Issachar had not made it to the Met, Janina Burnett had not made it to the Met. And I was just so confused. And I thought, well, okay, maybe we should put together a concert and invite some managers to come to this concert, do it in a theater with an orchestra so that they can hear you under, I guess, the most practical circumstances. And, hopefully they will be inspired to, hire you, or a manager may sign you or whatever. And we did a concert at the Schomburg Center here in Harlem.
Wonderful place.
I contacted a guy, a friend of mine, David Browning, recommended an orchestra, the New York Symphonic Arts Ensemble, which is a volunteer orchestra here in the city. And we got them to play, and we put on a concert. And I mean, Issachar had, sort of made a breakthrough before the concert. He'd been signed to Cami, I think a couple of weeks before. Janina had signed a contract at the Met, I want to say a couple of weeks after the concert. So it was, cool. I was like, okay, well, hey, this is great. And then I was like, well, but I want to do it. I want a Met contract,
Yeah.
So I put it on pause for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now you're back in it. And what's the process? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some people, some young colleagues watching this that will want to know, well, gee golly gosh, how do I audition, or how do I get my stuff in front of you? Is there a process? Does one sign up? How does it work?
Yeah, so before the pandemic, it was sort of, the network of people that I have around me, just sort of pulling from the talent that I can.
You were just a miracle phone call one day to somebody, say, hey, I'm doing this thing and you want to come?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
A mezzo soprano emailed me a couple of weeks ago, and I told her to send me her stuff. So if you send your stuff to info@cstarsoftomorrow.com, we can start a conversation about it in earnest. Yeah.
So it's pretty okay. So you're not going around auditioning people. The word of mouth is going out. Are you overwhelmed with requests at the moment? I mean, there's just a lot of people who want to do this. Do you have more people than occasions, or more occasion, or do you have to look for people?
I have to a little bit of both. There was a period where there were too many messages coming to me. Right after we did our Carnegie Hall concert last January. And it was a great concert.
And that was a big deal, right?
It was a huge.
I mean, how I mean, it was a big deal to actually announce your. I mean, I haven't been in New York at all, and even before COVID, I was briefly in New York. I just have not, even though I had an apartment, I just haven't been in and out of New York, so I've lost track of things. That just was not on my radar. I would have been at that concert without question because I'm passionate about my young colleagues and keeping in touch. But in organizing all of this Carnegie, I mean, having your organization do a Carnegie Hall concert, if I understand it was sold out.
It was sold out.
I mean, how'd you do that?
I was fortunate that I guess a little bit of strategy in that I decided to use my choir for the program because they are amazing. And again, the whole idea is to give people a chance who haven't gotten a chance. And we're talking, 83-year-old folks who never even dreamt that they could stand on the stage at Carnegie Hall, And so I went to them one day and I said, I'm going to propose something to you that you probably think you can't do, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it together. And I said to them, you let me do the hard work. You sing well. Let that be the easy work for you. And they decided that we would sort of raise the money. We had a bake sale. We baked our way to Carnegie Hall. Okay. And I had just come off of the Great American Baking Show. So I sort of know my way around the kitchen. I think I can't say. Shameless plug right there.
Good plug. Good plug.
You need to get on to Denise has got a wonderful popular podcast and it's all about cooking in the kitchen. It's fun. It's great fun. I fortunately asked her to this one so she didn't have to get me to the kitchen. You don't want me in the kitchen. You do not. You want me in the kitchen when you're ready to eat. I am the most, I can keep from starving and I do like to play around with some things. And that recipe in that opera book of mine of Huevos Mancheros is in fact true. But I'm not one of you guys. I'm not a cook. Go ahead. I'm not a gourmet. Go ahead. Gourmand. Anyway, so you baked your way to Carnegie. You know the old joke of the poor tourist in New York for the first time bumps into Robert Merrill down on 57th Street and innocently asked, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me how to get to Carnegie Hall?" And he looked at the person. He said, "Practice."
Most people.
Or bake under this. I love it. And so everybody said they're going to bake their heads off and everybody kind of just went, "Oh my God, we're going to Carnegie."
Yeah. And
what did you do? So you just call up and rented the hall, found the empty night and booked it and went for it?
Yeah, literally. I called one afternoon. I said, "Do you have any availability for Wild Recital Hall in the month of January?" And they said, "Give us about 45 minutes and we'll send you an email with all of the information." And the next morning I'd signed the contract and paid the deposit.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. By the way, I sang in I think I've sung on all the halls, but Weil Hall and the big hall, but even Zankel, I sang in once. It was a little bit new. I've not done a recital. I've done some functions there. Wonderful halls, of course, and thrilling to be there. And Weil is a wonderful hall. Nice, intimate, setting. It's great. It's great fun. And everybody was overwhelmed, huh?
Yeah, it's so funny. I was a bit nervous at first because the music, and I had to be honest with you, it was a program of music by Black composers. And I wasn't sure that there would be enough popular fare for people to sort of grab onto.
Okay.
But it really didn't matter. And the music was wonderful. Really, really, the programming was very good. Everybody sang really well.
Did you have some of your own arrangements on the show?
I did. Justin sang "The Blind Man Stood on the Road and Cried."
Okay.
Which he sings on the concert here on IDAGIO. And there was one more. "I Want to Be Ready," a spiritual that I arranged while I was at Eastman, as a matter of fact.
And let's cut to the chase. This is absolutely wonderful. This is so much fun. The show is called Feel the Spirit. And it's all about spirituals, right? Now, I asked you before the show, and I want to be clear. The Courtney Stars of Tomorrow. If you go we're going to go on the website and have a look, and we're talking about these shows and the previews, spirituals, African American singers, and it's all great. But in fact, your organization is multi-ethnic.
Yes. That is
I
correct.
mean, you want people of every ethnicity. There it is.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Yeah, I make up words all the time. You know, it's fantastic. You get really good at making up text when you sing a lot of recitals. You know, you're never as good as Goethe, but maybe you can get from one side of the one sentence, you remember the other one, you know, never mind. All right. I'm not going to say the word again, but let's just put it this way. You're about excellence in the arts
Yes.
across all ethnic, broad scope, cultural heritage, American, all of that, and you would program the next programs. I presume you're going to keep going, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, you'll program to that. Is there always a choral element to it?
No. There is,
Okay.
no, actually, no. I had to think about it for a minute. We did a performance at Talbot's, the clothing store.
Okay.
It's some years ago.
I love it.
They have a
fantastic.
program. What is it called? I can't think of the name of that, but they basically have non-profit organizations come in and perform or whatever it is you do. And during that hour that you're there, 10% of the sales go to the nonprofit. And
what a great idea!
Yeah. And we did concert of songs and arias at Talbot's.
Okay, let's have some, ladies and gentlemen. I'm now going to do some screen sharing, and I go in here. Hopefully, I didn't mess up. All the buttons are pushed, and I'm going to look at Safari individuals. Oh, I left. Yeah, okay. The next thing you should see is a browser window. This is actually another conversation, but it came up. It's the Harry T. Burleigh Society, which I'm extremely excited to find. But I'm going to go over here, and this is actually their website, and this is Courtney Carey, the artistic director of Courtney Stars of Tomorrow. The URL is obvious. If you just type in Courtney Stars of Tomorrow, you'll be good. This is a wonderful bio to read, and especially as you move down through here and you get into the various organizations and choirs that he has worked with and works for, and so forth. And you can see it's a wonderful website, by the way. It's extremely fun to just drop the needle and listen to you all sing and everything. And rather than getting lost, yeah, somebody works out. Never mind. So here we go. We've got, I'm just over on the events and the whole, and Courtney, don't let me forget to talk about the whole review. Okay. We'll get to that. I want to know about this. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the announcement of what we've been talking about. This is the Feel the Spirit. It was a pre-taped show. Sometimes on the Global Concert Hall, we in fact take programs that have been pre-produced, but you still are accessible. And for Courtney, you can tell me about how that process has been in the green room and so forth. But this was already programs that have been taped by these four wonderful singers. And down here, this is wonderful, and I'm incredibly proud that I get listed with it with the Hampson Foundation. Should we just, it's only 2 minutes long. Let's watch this trailer. Is that cool?
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a trailer. This is on, by the way, if you go to the website, Courtney Stars, or I presume this is probably on YouTube as well. This is not on IDAGIO.com, but we're going to play it now. Wow. Good. I tell you, wow. Let's come back out. That's a great preview. And now, if I understand right, last night and for half the time is you guys in the first one, and then it flips to the second show with Edwin and with Lucia Bradford and Edwin Cotton. Is that how it's divvied up?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, fantastic. And did you visit with people yesterday after the show?
During and after.
I love it. Look, the reason I asked that, ladies and gentlemen, is because this is a streaming platform of IDAGIO.com, started way back in early 2000s, 2003 or 4. And it is the oldest, most extensive, and the database is over 20,000 composers and I don't know how many hundreds and thousands of hours. And it's an incredible database, and we can even have a look at it in a minute. IDAGIO.com, first out the door and the most extensive. And I've been with him from the beginning. Till Yansukovich, who started this and the founder, his mission wasn't just about streaming platform. His mission really is about getting artists and public closer together. And streaming, is the natural, innovation and generational and technical development out of all of the download and CD, and it's here. Streaming is here, right? And IDAGIO.com, by the way, is built by classical musicians for classical music, and that's not confining. That's just a guarantee that if the Allegro is in the third movement, it's going to stay there when you download it. The user interface of the monstrous, Spotify's and Apple Tunes and so forth are not very classical music friendly because they have a completely different metadata background. It might be too many weeds for you. I don't know, but it just doesn't work. IDAGIO works. If you're looking for classical music, IDAGIO.com works. And that's the wonderful streaming platform. And we'd always said we want to go to, and the obvious addition is both social media as well as video. And that all got bumped up in a big way with COVID, because in March, we just simply said, my God, people they need music, they need contact, artists need a vehicle. A bunch of us signed up immediately to have an IDAGIO show once a week or twice a week. I, in my self-torture way, I signed up for 2. So Tuesdays is all about song, and that's why you all are here. And on Thursdays, it's more of a general business or industry interview with a lot of old colleagues and friends, and everything from Deborah Rutter in the Kennedy Center to yeah. Anyway, it's been great. It's been great fun. But the point was video, and also Ivan Fischer giving a whole series on Mahler symphonies, and Carola Gelstein giving a whole series on Bach and Busonium. It's just there's been a lot of wonderful artists on the IDAGIO Live series, and that just lives on the IDAGIO Live YouTube. I think also Vimeo now. So if you want to go back and catch up with anything, you can always do that. It's free. It's accessible. It belongs to the big database. It'll eventually, hopefully, be incorporated into something called a learning center, but that's another conversation. Then around June May, June, Till got very excited about we need to go the next level. And, this is pushing on the organization pretty hard. So we need to have a way, and I know a way, that we can present digital concerts live. And that's where the Global Concert Hall got born. And it is, in fact, what I now call, I've always called, the third rail of performance in all industries, but especially our industry. And it's here to stay. It is an augmentation of what we have available in the classical world and sphere. And it's a third rail because even though we're in lockdown and in and out of it, as it were, the components, the production of anything on Global Concert Hall is for analog, meaning real live people, and digital, meaning you like us online now. And the fun thing is that, it's technically easy to have live people be part of your digital thing, and the digital event be part of something you're going to see when you're in a live studio. So depending on the various organizations that have signed up and started to really use the Global Concert Hall, which is very exciting, from the King Singers to New World Symphony to London Symphony to Vienna Philharmonic and Berlin Philharmonic. I mean, the door has been, a lot of knocking on the door. There's some really wonderful developments in the pipeline that I really can assure you that IDAGIO.com and Global Concert Hall and IDAGIO Live and the whole experience is here to stay in a big way, in a very positive way. But to offer then, and I was going around and said, well, let's get the kids on here. And it was interesting. One of the first conversations I had was with an educator, and he said, it's a great idea, Tom. It's one of it. Yes, the kids will love it, but they're going to be nervous that they're in the same swimming pool as Yo-Yo Ma and the King Singers and whoever else. And I said, you're absolutely right. I'll make a series. We'll protect it in that sense. We'll isolate it, because also people really want to hear you guys. People, if there's anything in our industry, in our public that is alive and well forever, it's who's next. and so this is a no-brainer program that's just going to keep expanding. And Courtney, I can't tell you, it just thrills me to see that tag down and see Hamsong Foundation part of with IDAGIO and part of Courtney's the Stars. And we've got the University of Vienna coming in. We've got Manhattan coming in. We had this last week, we had the University of Michigan with their saxophonist quartet. Amazing a concert. San Francisco Opera is going to be coming in. We've got sort of 5 and 5 and 5. The Nauenberg Foundation has now said they'd really like to go. We've got Das Lied, which is the big competition for lead singers. By the way, I'm glad to give everybody a shout out for the competitions. I'm not a big competition guy. All I can tell all of you, my dear friends and colleagues, you cannot lose a competition. You can only win it. And if you win it, it's just another way to get your foot in the door. And what matters is not the engagement, it's the re-engagement. So build on it, be cool, be positive. And if you didn't make it, like Courtney saying, hey, I didn't get called back. We all don't get called back. I couldn't get an audition for Glyndebourne. This wasn't going to happen. Now, we've made up. We're all good. It's fine. But I mean, and by the way, you know who else they didn't give an audition to? There was this Mexican tenor called Placido something. I think Domingo.
Oh wow!
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? They were just, oh no, it's really not the right timbre for that sort of piece, is it? Talk about the wrong side of history. Anyway, so the point is, just go and be there. Beautiful singing, man. You sound great, Justin. So when do I get to see you?
I had some really cool stuff coming, but COVID takes away everything. Yeah. But I hope to get over the pond as soon as I can, as soon as we're allowed to, and get over there. I'm supposed to be making my Met debut next season in Hamlet as Marcellus.
Marcellus, bravo.
But we'll see. I was supposed to make my Met debut in Dead Man Walking this season. And then it was canceled. And then my next engagement there was Billy Budd, and then that was canceled. So I'm scared to even announce this because it's
no. When the doors open and start going again, you got the right attitude. You just have to be patient. Your folks are still living in Germany, right?
Yeah, my dad's there, and my mom is still in Australia. Yeah.
Give your dad my best. I enjoyed meeting him when he came by. You're on a great path.
And
Brittany,
what's up? By the way, Heidelberg and studying with you saved my life. I won't go into it, but I was in a really bad place, and it was your encouragement, and the same encouragement that you just gave everyone in the world. Those specific things and more that you gave me. Really, you have no idea the impact. I
remember specific. You'll love this, guys. He comes in and he's going to sing Herr, was trägt der Boden hier von Wolf. It's a very incredibly intense prayer, and quite a moving piece. And he starts in, and I remember stopping. I said, "Why are you yelling at me?" It was like, all this kind of, So we talked about what the piece was, and that actually was a religious moment, and forget about both, but it's just a beautiful, and maybe the distances are, and by the way, I remember saying, don't look, what's the dynamic marking of the page? And of course we discovered that it was piano. And I remember I said, okay, Justin, tell me that story. And you closed your eyes. You turn and you close your eyes. It was another human being. And I felt, along what you're saying, I felt like you'd been given permission to sing. And that's one of my big mandates. I love to give people permission to sing. I'm not interested in the industry. I'm interested in human beings that want to sing. And that's why I love you, Courtney. You're amazing. You are truly amazing. Now, Brittany, what's up for you? What are you going to do?
Oh, wow. I've actually, just like Justin, it's one of those things. I lost some things. I was going to make actually a Broadway debut, but setting and that kind of got canceled. So it's kind of like, I don't know if it's coming back. We're hoping, but I'm actually right now study prep for a role debut of Micaela in Carmen.
All right.
I'm excited. The company out in Orlando is still pushing it, which I'm like, all right, let's do it. It's a new concept. It's actually set in Haiti, so we all have to learn Creole for our dialogue.
Oh, I love it.
It's about to be a beautiful, beautiful show, but fingers crossed, don't get
you're going to be a gorgeous Micaela. That's going to be fantastic.
Thanks.
But don't underestimate her. She's a tough role. Role.
Right. I'm excited. Oh, I'm so excited. So excited.
You might just pass by Denise's office with that one.
I'm gonna send her an email. I can't text.
Mom, can I just sing something?
Hey.
Yeah. So are you doing your prep in New York?
Yes, I am.
With your folks? Okay, cool. She's up there a lot. Well, she's going to be. I mean, look, COVID's COVID. You're going to be in your apartment working. It's fine. And Justin, you said you're in St. Louis, but you live in New York.
Yeah, I live in New York. I'm thankfully, by the grace of God, I'm very busy right now. I'm actually on my way to Los Angeles to do a really kind of exciting recording project that I'm not allowed to talk about, so that's why I can't announce it. But I stopped.
Whoa!
Get out.
It's out at the Luke Skywalker Ranch, but never mind.
I figured I'd take my time because I'm not flying anywhere right now. My mother, unfortunately, attracted COVID from flying, in airports and such. So I'm really nervous about that. So I just have my own little bubble in my car, and I drove from New York, and I was doing some teaching work with, and I will be doing some teaching work with the artisan training program at Opera Theater St. Louis, as well as other organizations here. And I figured I'd just stop midway and stay here for about a week, and then keep going to the west.
Good for you. Good. I'm doing everything in Europe by car as well. I mean, I flipped back and forth to Berlin last week to do some teaching. Kind of smothered and masked and whatever. But long plane rides are not a good idea. Look, especially in America right now, you just have to buckle. It breaks my heart. I haven't been in America since January, and my mom turned 90. No way in hell. That's 13 hours to get to Washington State from. But so I'm just reinforcing you guys. Just stay cool, stay smart, stay well. The mask is the least thing we can do, and the distance learning is a better way to live anyway. It's just the least we can do is usher in these uncertain times some basic behavioral respectful things where you don't wear a mask just because but I don't have it. That's not the point. If we all wear it, none of us have it. How about that? I really don't see the issue, but I want to be respectful here, but I just want you guys to stay healthy, because health is the determining factor of your life. And probably time management is this another second level. And somewhere in between those two is something called warming up and singing well. Does this sound like good stuff, Courtney?
Indeed.
I love it. I probably should do this offline, but I'm going to do it on now anyway, because it's part of my heritage as well. You, in your bio and list of people, you were choral director for the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that true? Was that a higher position, or did you grow up in the Seventh-day Adventist tradition?
No, I'm actually Baptist.
You're Baptist.
Yeah.
Because I grew up Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I was all through private school and the whole thing up until college, and then I went to a non-religious secular college, and it's been downhill ever since. But I was my downhill. I was just curious about that. It must have been a wonderful experience, and I think one of those films is in a Seventh-day Adventist church. It looks like a layout of a Seventh-day Adventist church. One of the choral pieces.
Yeah, it's here at the Ephesus Seventh-day Adventist Church in Harlem.
That's right.
Yeah. Actually, that church, Shirley Verrett went to that church for a short stint. She was here
That's right.
working. She was a student at Juilliard, and she was
Right.
also coaching with the spiritual arranger Hall Johnson, who lived
Right.
a couple of blocks from Ephesus. And
Right.
so she was sort of in and out of Ephesus for a short time while she was a student at Juilliard.
Yeah, who also was enormously supportive of the Seventh-day Adventists was Leonard Bernstein, because his dad was a patient in Battle Creek, Michigan, which is one of the first real, health farms in the country, and also one of the first producers of health food. And health issues are a big thing. I'm no longer a Seventh-day Adventist, but I'm very proud to support so many of their social agendas, which are so right with the world. I mean, the Seventh-day Adventist investment in and dedication to health, from huge, like Loma Linda, all the way through and down to is very impressive. And they're an enormously musical group. I mean, I grew up, like you said, Brittany, when you said you grew up in the choral thing, that's actually true of a lot of American singers. Most American singers have had some connection with Sunday school singing or choral singing. We have that tradition big time in our country, and it's huge. And that's another layer, by the way, of Hampson Foundation is connecting with the American Choral Association, for instance. And my passion is teaching teachers how to teach cross-disciplinary, social studies, social studies, history, politics, through poetry and music, especially understanding the history of American culture. And one of my huge passions is the amazingly brilliant, eclectic canon of classical music seen through the eyes and creativity of African Americans. It's almost like a parallel universe in our cultural history. And we didn't get into much of that tonight, and maybe we can have another conversation about that. I've tried to spend quite a bit of time over the last 6 months giving air to African American artists to talk about where we are in the country and what role music and the arts can play in it. And also some of your personal stories. You all have had personal stories of this phenomenon of other. Mm-hmm. And that is something that is incredibly important to share as artists, but as also as simply Americans first and African Americans. I get incredibly angry, and I've seen the composers, Courtney, I get so worked up. And when we talk about African American composers, mm-hmm. Can we just talk about American composers?
Oh, yeah.
I'm good with that. Margaret Bonds is just, she'll float your boat. She'll, William Grant Still, it just doesn't get much better than that. I don't care. And that we had to rediscover William Dawson. Well, okay. We also need to rediscover Deems Taylor, and we need to rediscover John Alden Carpenter, and we need to discover a whole bunch of folks. And somewhere along the line, of course, we should talk about their cultural heritage. And the problem is, I'm not being glib about this, because there's no way in hell you can talk about any of these massively creative people and not talk about the circumstances in which they lived, which are just obscene in mm-hmm. any level. So I'm not being glib about it, but on the other hand, Langston Hughes is my poet. He's your poet. He's our poet. He's an American poet. And by the way, he was recognized in Europe for that very quality much before he was really recognized in America, which was very similar also to Walt Whitman. But you guys know that. This is fun. This is fun. You guys want to say anything? Do anything? Sure. Mike, open mic. Go for it. Want to sing something? No.
Well, just thank you for giving us, this platform and for allowing us to share our voices,
That's cool.
This is to be quite frank.
But I thought you were Justin.
Right. I think that Brittany, all of our participation in these concerts, especially this particular one, to not just showcase us, but also showcase the spiritual and to allow the world to really, honestly, I feel like the world needs the spiritual right now. We're all going through a very similar, situation of pain and suffering. And we all know what the spiritual was able to do for my ancestors. And I feel like it might have some of that same healing energy for the world right now. And I've been doing lots of spirituals, during this time. It's been more hot than ever for me. And I just appreciate this opportunity, this platform to share these messages and these stories and some comfort, in a really important time.
Courtney, what's the future? I mean, look, we've got a great start on this. So you and I have to put our head together and invent some stuff because this has got to be. But what is your trajectory for the Courtney Stars tomorrow? What's going on? It's going to stay in business and got a series. How many programs a year? What do you think?
My goal is to get sort of at the top up there with Carnegie Hall, to be able to put on enough performances a year to give millions of folks opportunities to perform. That's the goal. What
about Town Hall? Couldn't we do some, because Town Hall's, buyable, you can rent it, and it's got a bit more history to it as well. And it's a bigger space. It's a wonderful place to sing. I don't know if you've ever been in it, but it's, oh my God, it used to be the vocal palace in New York, right?
William Warfield performed there quite a lot. And he was one of my sort of early baritone heroes. Yeah.
Oh, all of ours. Ours.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I mean, and I'm doing some more organizing right now, just sort of see what the possibilities are for the future, to do everything safely. I have a couple of other grant proposals that I've already submitted, and I don't want to sort of jinx any of that, but there are some things that I'm actually writing, and I want to say this, and I think it's sort of just to make sure that it's clear that when you see something that says Courtney Carey on a program, like Justin saying a couple of my arrangements, those things I put in those programs were not sort of to bolster myself, but there's a sort of a psychological thing here that where if you put together a program, right? If I put together a program of music by Verdi or Puccini or whomever, it's less likely, unfortunately, that my program would be picked up with those names on it. But if you see a program that says music by Courtney Carey, because I'm a living composer or arranger, people connect to that in a different way. And that's also, I think, why the Carnegie Hall program sold out so quickly, because they knew that I was writing music for it and they could attach themselves to it. And believe it or not, last night, most of the messages that I got, I mean, thank God for it, but most of the messages that I got were actually messages about one of the pieces that I wrote for Justin on the program, Did My Lord Deliver Daniel? Which it was not my favorite song of mine that I've ever written, by the way. But I said that to say that, there's a certain a level of, I guess, connection and importance when people can, sort of feel that they're connected to the composer himself. Sure. And I sort of lost my train of thought, but that.
No. I think what's important is that I think COVID is, every crisis must be turned into opportunity. There's just nothing else we can do. We must get through this, and the devastation is not over. And the reorientation of life is not all of those things aside. Let's grab onto the things that are good. A whole new universal awareness to digital abilities to communicate and participate. Full stop. a completely different sensitivity came into what we call repertoire. Because with the different boutiques, whether they're Vienna Philharmonic or Courtney Stars, they're all bringing their stuff to do. And so there's a new idea of, okay, well, why this? And I've seen a lot more contemporary composers showing up. I've seen people being much more innovative about, hey, I got this idea, I want to do it this way. My blessed hope, seriously, in the concert world in general, is when we start opening up and we start having concerts, that repertoire, that freedom of movement to hear new people, new things, new ideas. Yes, we're going to be thrilled to have New York Phil play Brahms 4 again, no question about it. But and it's not an either or situation. There's no reason why Brahms can't be on the same program as completely unknown things. So, I think that I think you're absolutely right. I think people respond to, well, I don't know what that is, but it must, let's have a look at that. Let's have a listen to that. People seem to be more open for, in the privacy of their computer or their living room. I'll take that journey because there's no intimidation factor. There's no screw up factor. And I think we should focus in on that in the use of our digital media in a more expanded way going forward in the classical industry, is that, you'd be surprised maybe that one of the first things of feedback of general audiences, especially in America, about, well, not just America, over here as well, because of the incredible places where music takes place a lot of times in Europe especially, but also is intimidation. People are afraid to buy a ticket to go in. Already the event is like, well, I simply don't belong in Carnegie Hall. I live yada, yada, yada. And even if I can buy the cheap ticket, I just feel, oh my God, and I'm not sure what to wear, and I'm not sure how to act, and I don't really know what's going on. And, this is a huge factor. And this medium is exactly what, quite frankly, we can do with the internet now, what we completely screwed up with television in the 50s and 60s. And let's just commit to that. You're on the right path, and I'm totally behind you, man. You've got a great idea, and you've got obviously a great group of folks that need to be heard, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch behind you all. I'm sure we need to have more concerts than we have planned to get everybody that heard. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. You guys are great. Stay well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a huge pleasure. Go to idagio.com. I didn't show you the website, but find it. idagio.com. And on the front page, you're going to see Idagio Live, and you're going to see the Global Concert Hall. If you click the Global Concert Hall, you're going to have this series up right there, and you can just sign up. $10 is nothing, and it goes. Wonderful split. Goes 70% of everything that they can generate online goes straight to Courtney's organization to help him out as well. And go to the Courtney website, Stars of Tomorrow, and check out what they've been doing. Their educational platform. The commitment to arts in America, full stop. Don't hesitate. Thank you for